The Galactic Council Hall was immense, a dome of shimmering metal and floating light panels. Representatives from hundreds of species filled the chamber, each seated according to their homeworld. The air buzzed with tension as leaders whispered about humans, a species that had always fascinated and confused the galaxy. Humans are afraid of war, Counselor Theric of the Zelter Empire said, his voice cold and firm. They retreat, avoid conflict, and never engage unless forced. They lack courage and strength. A murmur spread across the chamber. Some delegates nodded, agreeing. Others frowned, unsure. Humans had never attacked first. Their fleets were small, their weapons seemingly defensive. Ambassador Lia Rin, representing the Halari Consortium, raised her hand. She was young, but her eyes were sharp. Counselor Theric, she said carefully, are you sure you understand human strategy? Reports show they avoid war, yes, but they survive. They adapt, they outsmart stronger forces. Is that fear, or intelligence? Theric scoffed. Intelligence? They hide like children. Fear drives them. That is why they will never be a threat. We should contain them before they spread further. Lia frowned, feeling a chill in her stomach. She had studied human behavior closely. She had read their history, their records, their conflicts. And yes, humans avoided open war, but not because they were weak. They were careful, patient, waiting. The council paused as a report arrived from the observation satellites near human systems. Holographic screens flickered to life. Energy readings, fleet movements, and city data appeared in real time. Humans are evacuating civilians in response to nearby skirmishes, the data officer explained. Their ships avoid engagement. No offensive action detected. Another counselor, Garrick of the Valyrian Order, leaned forward. See? Fear. They will never fight. Weakness is written in every action. Lia shook her head slowly. Something did not add up. The patterns she observed were precise, deliberate. Humans moved not out of fear but with purpose. Every retreat, every maneuver seemed designed to protect life, to minimize destruction. Counselor Theric slammed his clawed hand on the console. We cannot wait. Humans are weak. Containment is necessary. Their fear makes them predictable. We can strike first and there will be little resistance. Lia's voice rose. Predictable? Perhaps. But do you realize that humans are hiding more than you see? Their technology, their structures, their systems, we know very little. To call them weak is dangerous. The chamber fell silent. Whispers spread like wildfire. Humans had always been underestimated. Most species assumed their avoidance of conflict meant inferiority. Just then, a young observer reported an anomaly. Sensors detect a pattern originating from deep within the human homeworld. It is unusual. Energy levels spike, but no fleet or weapon is visible. Systems appear ancient, dormant for thousands of years, yet they are responding now. The council gasped. Some leaned forward, squinting at the data. How could a small human system generate this? No other species had hidden structures like this. Theric growled. What trickery is this? Are humans trying to deceive us? Lia's eyes widened. No. This is something older. Something we do not understand. And whatever it is awakening. The chamber erupted into debate. Panic crept into the voices of even the oldest counselors. Messages flew between satellites and observation posts. More anomalies appeared. Human systems, previously silent for centuries, were now subtly activating. Star routes adjusted. Hidden stations emitted signals the council had never seen. Lia felt a shiver run down her spine. She realized the truth even before the rest of the council. Humans were not afraid of war. Humans had simply prepared. She glanced at the report again. Evacuations, strategic withdrawals, careful maneuvers, all were part of a plan the council could not yet understand. Humans had never sought conquest. But they had protected themselves, and perhaps the galaxy, far better than anyone realized. Counselor Theric slammed his clawed hand on the table again. Enough. Humans are weak. We will act. Containment protocols must be implemented immediately. Lia rose, her voice firm. You do not understand. This is not weakness. This is patience. Humans do not fear war. They fear losing life. And that fear makes them wiser than any of us. Theric hissed, but the room was already changing. Messages from distant systems arrived too quickly to ignore. Human networks, hidden for millennia, were stirring. Energy flowed along old star paths. Structures that had lain dormant were coming online. The chamber fell silent again. For the first time, delegates realized that humans were not what they had assumed. And the council, which had once judged humanity as weak, began to feel something else: unease, curiosity, and fear. Leah's eyes met the holographic map of human space. She knew what was coming. Humanity had been preparing all along. And soon the galaxy would witness the truth. Humans are afraid of war, or at least that's what everyone thinks, she whispered to herself. The lights of the council hall dimmed, shadows stretching over the anxious faces of the galaxy's leaders. Humanity's true power remained hidden, but the first signs of awakening were already here. The council chambers buzzed with tension as reports continued to pour in from the edges of human space. Satellites, probes, and observation ships all provided data that seemed impossible. Humans were everywhere, yet nowhere. Their fleets were small, their weapons defensive, but they survived every conflict. Ambassador Lia Rin studied the data with growing unease. Evacuations, retreats, and careful maneuvers were visible in every report. Humans avoided direct confrontation, but they never lost territory. Civilians were protected. Cities remained intact. Even in the midst of chaos, humans seemed to vanish at just the right moment, only to reappear elsewhere. Counselor Theric's claws drummed impatiently on the table. This proves it. Humans fear war. They avoid it because they cannot fight. We cannot allow their weakness to spread. Lia shook her head. No, she said quietly. You are misunderstanding them. Humans do not flee out of fear, they plan. Every retreat, every maneuver, every evacuation. It is precise. Calculated. Strategic. The counselors murmured among themselves, some skeptical, some curious. Lia tapped a holographic map, showing human movements across several star systems. Look closely, she said. Notice how they never expose themselves unnecessarily. They withdraw when threatened but never without purpose. They are always one step ahead. They protect what matters, not just themselves but others too. A young analyst from the Valyrian Order spoke up, his voice shaky. But why? If they are so cautious, why not hide completely? They still risk exposure every time a fleet is sent out. Leah's eyes narrowed. Because they are testing. They are learning. They are measuring the galaxy, the threats, and the environment. Humans are not hiding because they fear war. They hide because they understand it. Counselor Theric roared, Nonsense. Retreat is weakness. Strength lies in attack. Humans are weak. Leah ignored him and continued. You call it weakness, but in truth humans value life. They understand the cost of war better than anyone else. Their power is not in weapons or fleets. It is in patience, intelligence, and strategy. They avoid unnecessary conflict because they know that war destroys everyone, even the winners. A technician brought a live feed from a human border system. The screen showed a skirmish with an alien patrol. The humans did not fire first. They moved civilians to safety. Then, a clever sequence of energy shields, gravitational shifts, and stealth maneuvers allowed them to outsmart the enemy and escape without a fight. See, Lia said, pointing to the display. They win without fighting. And when conflict occurs, they control it completely. Counselors whispered nervously. Some had seen fleets larger than humans destroyed by smaller forces. And yet, humans survived, adapting to every scenario. Reports from other systems added to the mystery. Trade convoys were protected by invisible fields. Starports remained untouched despite pirate attacks. Humans seemed to anticipate every danger before it arrived. Even the youngest counselors, who had always considered humans weak, began to feel unease. Something was hidden, something powerful and intelligent. Lia leaned forward, her voice firm. Humans are not afraid of war. They are careful because they know the stakes. Life is valuable. Strategy matters more than brute force. They teach us that power is meaningless without wisdom. The chamber fell silent. Counselor Theric's eyes burned with frustration. This is absurd. You speak as if their cleverness makes them strong. They are weak. Always weak. But Leah's voice carried over the murmurs. They are not weak. They are wise. And soon the galaxy will see what I mean. They have prepared for centuries. And we are only now beginning to notice. Another analyst brought up a reading of ancient systems lying dormant in human space. Structures that had been silent for thousands of years were showing faint energy signatures. Hidden, waiting, and now subtly activating. The council gasped. Some had heard rumors of ancient human technologies, but no one had ever witnessed them in action. Now proof was appearing. Leah's eyes glimmered with realization. Humans have always avoided war, yes. But not because they fear it. They have always understood it. And what we see now is only the beginning. Counselor Theric growled, pounding the table. Enough. Humans are weak. We will strike before they realize their strength. Lia stared at him calmly. Strike? If you do, you will see that humans are not weak. You will see that avoiding war was only their first move. The galaxy will regret underestimating them. The hall fell silent again. Outside, satellites detected more unusual activity in human space. Ancient energy grids were awakening. Hidden stations were turning online. Ships that had been invisible for centuries were moving subtly, as if testing the galaxy. Lia whispered to herself, watching the data scroll. Humans are not afraid of war, they are afraid of losing life. And that is why the galaxy will soon see the truth. The satellites continued to stream data from human space. Ambassador Lia Rin leaned over the holographic table, eyes wide as the full picture began to form. Humans were moving differently than any species expected. They avoided direct battle, yet their influence was undeniable. Every maneuver, every subtle shift in fleets and energy patterns, was deliberate. Look at this, Lia said, pointing to the glowing star systems on the map. These are not just defensive measures. Humans are manipulating entire systems. Counselor Theric snorted. Nonsense. Those are natural anomalies. Humans cannot control stars or fleets at this scale. Lia shook her head. You are underestimating them. Look at the energy readings. See how gravitational flows are being adjusted. Star routes stabilized? Civilizations protected without a single weapon fired. The chamber fell silent. Whispers spread like wildfire. No one had ever seen such control. Humans had been hiding, waiting, learning. And now they were awakening. A young analyst brought up another live feed. A human fleet was near a contested system. The aliens there expected an attack, ready to engage with full force. But the humans did nothing. Civilians were moved to safety. Energy shields and stealth systems activated. Gravity fields shifted enemy ships away. By the time the aliens realized, the humans had vanished, leaving the system secure and untouched. They win without fighting, Lia said quietly. And when necessary they control the fight completely. The council gasped. Some had experienced human tactics before, but nothing like this. Every move was calculated. Humans acted with patience, intelligence, and precision. Reports continued to arrive. Trade convoys avoided pirate attacks. Starports remained unharmed despite aggressive incursions. Ancient human structures, dormant for centuries, were awakening. Energy flows corrected themselves. Hidden satellites adjusted navigation systems across multiple star systems. The Council's fear began to grow. Humans, once considered weak, were showing power that no one could fully comprehend. And they had done it all without aggression. Lia's gaze swept across the chamber. Humans are not weak. They have prepared for this moment for centuries. They understand war, yes, but they choose not to fight unless absolutely necessary. They protect, they preserve, they guide. That is their strength. Theric slammed his claws on the table. Enough. They are weak. Retreat is weakness. Lia's voice cut through the murmur. Retreat is not weakness. It is patience. Humans do not fear war, they respect it. They know its cost and they use knowledge, strategy, and foresight to survive. Every withdrawal, every maneuver, every hidden system, they are all part of a plan. She pointed to a hidden grid of energy flows near a human colony. The readings were staggering. Ships and stations that had been invisible for thousands of years were subtly activating. Civilizations that came too close were guided away, unharmed. Humans had prepared a network of defenses and protections far beyond what any other species could imagine. Counselor Theric's claws twitched with frustration. This cannot be. How can a species so small command such power without anyone knowing? Lia's eyes sparkled with realization. Because they never sought glory. They never wanted to conquer. They only wanted to survive and protect life. That is why they appear afraid of war, they are cautious. But in truth, they are the most dangerous species in the galaxy, not because of weapons but because of their wisdom. The room fell silent. No one spoke. The counselors, the analysts, the diplomats, all realized they had been wrong about humans for centuries. Lia leaned back and whispered to herself, almost in awe. Humans are not afraid of war. They are afraid of losing life, and that makes them stronger than anyone imagined. Outside human space, ancient systems continued to awaken. Subtle energy flows corrected imbalances across stars. Hidden fleets moved quietly, unseen. The galaxy was about to witness the true power of humanity, not in destruction but in wisdom and restraint. For the first time, even the most skeptical counselors began to understand. Humanity was not weak. Humanity was patient. Humanity was prepared. and the truth, once revealed, would change the galaxy forever. The council hall was silent. Even the most skeptical delegates could not ignore the evidence. Humans were not what they seemed. They had never sought war, yet their influence stretched across star systems. They had been underestimated, and now the truth was unfolding. Ambassador Lia Rin stood before the chamber, her eyes scanning the holographic map of human space. "Counselors," she began, her voice calm but firm, "you have judged humans by appearances. You have called them weak because they avoid conflict. But you are wrong. Humans are not afraid of war, they are afraid of destruction, of losing life. That fear drives their strength, not their weakness." Counselor Theric hissed. "Words mean nothing. Show proof." Lia gestured at the holographic display. Ancient human systems began to appear. Hidden star stations, dormant energy grids, and massive structures lying in wait for centuries. "These systems," she said, "have been protecting human space and beyond silently. They stabilize stars, prevent disasters, and guide civilizations without taking credit. Humans have always acted from the shadows, preserving life and balance." A murmur ran through the room. Delegates leaned forward, some pale with realization. The reports of vanished fleets, protected colonies, and unexpected survivals suddenly made sense. Humans had been quietly controlling events across the galaxy, guiding outcomes with intelligence and patience. "They are patient," Lia continued. "They do not rush into war. They calculate, observe, and wait for the right moment. Their strength lies not in domination but in wisdom, in foresight, and in protection." The chamber screens displayed scenes from human history. Humans negotiating peace, carefully evacuating populations, outsmarting far larger forces without firing a weapon. Every image emphasized the same truth: humans valued life over power, strategy over violence. Counselor Galler of the Valyrian Order spoke slowly. "So, all this time we thought they were weak, but in reality, they were planning?" "Yes," Lia replied. "Humans never sought to conquer. They prepared. They understood war better than anyone. They have survived where others failed, not by fighting first but by understanding the cost. That is their power." The reports shifted to modern human colonies. Satellites picked up energy surges in distant systems. Structures long thought abandoned were activating. Ships were moving, unseen, correcting dangerous anomalies and stabilizing star routes. "Observe," Lia said. "This is not aggression. This is guardianship. Humans have designed a system that protects life, without needing to dominate. That is why they appear afraid. Their caution is a strategy, a testament to their wisdom." A young counselor whispered, awed. "They are incredible. We underestimated them completely." Lia nodded. "Exactly. And now humans are awakening. The galaxy will soon see their true nature. Not as conquerors but as protectors. Not through force but through intelligence and foresight." Counselor Theric clenched his claws. "This is dangerous. A species so cautious, yet so powerful. If they wanted war they could destroy us all." Lia's gaze was steady. "And that is why humans do not fight recklessly. They respect life, not only their own but that of others. They understand that true strength is patience, wisdom, and restraint. Their philosophy is simple: protect life, avoid unnecessary destruction, and guide the galaxy carefully." The room fell into a deep silence. Delegates and analysts stared at the holograms, realizing that their assumptions about humans had been completely wrong. Humans had survived, thrived, and prepared while the galaxy judged them as weak. Lia's voice softened, almost to herself. "Humans are not afraid of war, they are afraid of losing life. And that makes them the wisest and perhaps the most powerful species in the galaxy." Outside, sensors detected faint energy flows from ancient human structures, hidden fleets activating, and star systems subtly adjusting. The galaxy was on the brink of witnessing a force that had been underestimated for millennia. Lia's eyes glimmered as she whispered again, more confident this time. "The galaxy will fear humans, not for aggression but for wisdom, restraint, and the power to protect all life." And far away, in the quiet of hidden human space, dormant fleets stirred, waiting. Systems adjusted, balancing the stars. The humans had never disappeared, they had been preparing. The true purpose of humanity was clear now. Not to conquer but to guard. Not to destroy but to preserve. The Galactic Council could no longer deny it. Humanity's strength lay in what no one expected: intelligence, patience, and the courage to protect life above all else. And when humans acted, the galaxy would finally understand why no one should ever underestimate them. Across the galaxy, subtle changes began to appear. Hidden energy grids in ancient human systems activated one by one. Star routes stabilized. Dangerous gravitational anomalies corrected themselves. Ships long thought lost or destroyed reappeared safely. The galaxy was waking to a reality it had never imagined. Ambassador Liarin watched the streams of data from the control center. Every sensor, every satellite, every probe reported unusual activity. Humans were not moving their fleets aggressively, they were activating systems that had been dormant for millennia. Civilizations unknowingly benefited. Star systems previously at risk were now secure. Counselor Theric slammed his claws on the table in frustration. Enough. They are weak. They cannot do all this. Watch closely, Leah said, her voice steady. This is not weakness. This is preparation. Humans have always avoided unnecessary war because they understand the cost. Now the galaxy will see their power, not through weapons but through wisdom and guardianship. Outside the council hall, alien fleets and research ships detected strange forces. Invisible barriers redirected them away from human space. Navigation systems were subtly corrected. Energy flows stabilized entire star clusters. Ships that entered too close were guided back unharmed. Panic spread quickly among the council delegates. What is happening? Whispered one. Why are human systems so alive? They have been preparing, Leah said calmly. They do not seek glory or conquest. Their goal is protection. They guide, stabilize, and preserve. And they do it without showing force. That is their true power. The ancient human networks activated fully. Fleets hidden in distant systems aligned with dormant star stations. Energy pulses swept across the galaxy, correcting dangerous anomalies and protecting life. Entire civilizations began to notice. Some were terrified. Others were awed. One counselor gasped. They could destroy us all if they wanted to. Leah shook her head. They will not. Humans are not aggressive. They understand war, yes, but they choose not to fight recklessly. Their restraint is what makes them powerful. They act when necessary and only to preserve life. The council watched in stunned silence as reports streamed in. Trade convoys reached their destinations safely. Pirate attacks failed mysteriously. Collisions and supernova threats were neutralized. Humans had been operating quietly for centuries, and now their influence was visible across multiple star systems. A young analyst spoke softly, almost in awe. They are incredible. We misjudged them entirely. Yes, Leah said. For generations, the galaxy has underestimated humans. They were patient. They were wise. They prepared while others rushed. And now the awakening is beginning. Counselor Theric growled, but even he could not hide the truth. The human strategy, patience, and foresight had made them stronger than any species had expected. Leah turned to the council, her voice clear and commanding. This is humanity. Not because they fight or conquer, but because they protect. They guide. They preserve. And when the galaxy realizes this, fear will spread, not of war but of wisdom. Across the galaxy, hidden human systems continued to hum. Ancient stations, long silent, now broadcast subtle signals of balance. Humans had returned, not with weapons, not with empires, but as guardians of life itself. And somewhere deep in human space, Ambassador Liarin whispered to herself, watching the data stream. Humans are not afraid of war. They are afraid of losing life. And that fear makes them the most powerful species in the galaxy. The council hall remained silent. The galaxy had just witnessed the first signs of humanity's true awakening. No one could deny it anymore. Humanity was coming, not to conquer but to protect. And the full truth of their power would soon be impossible to ignore. The galaxy had paused. Every civilization, every council, every fleet was watching. The hidden systems of humanity were now fully active, stabilizing stars, redirecting dangerous energy flows, and protecting planets without revealing themselves. Ambassador Liarin stood in the council hall, her gaze firm. Humans are not weak. They were never weak. They have waited, observed, and prepared for this moment. Their strength lies not in war but in wisdom. Their power is patience, strategy, and the protection of life. Counselor Theric's claws clenched tightly. They could have attacked us all. And yet they do nothing. Why? Leah smiled faintly. Because they do not seek conquest. They do not desire empires. They rise only to protect. Humanity understands the cost of war. They respect life, and that is why the galaxy has underestimated them for so long. Outside, alien fleets cautiously withdrew from human space. Explorers reported star systems realigning, hazards neutralized and previously hidden human stations gently guiding ships to safety. Humans were everywhere yet nowhere. Their presence was felt, not seen. Across the galaxy, whispers began. Humans, they are wise. They are patient. They are guardians. The council watched in stunned silence as reports of human influence spread. Star routes were safe. Civilizations previously at risk now prospered. Trade networks expanded without conflict. Pirates and marauders were mysteriously deterred. A young counselor whispered in awe, "They are incredible. We were wrong about them all along." "Yes," Leah said softly. "We all were. For centuries we thought they were weak. But humans have always known. They prepare, they observe, they guide. And they act only when it matters." In the human homeworld, systems quietly hummed with life. Ancient fleets and stations, long dormant, now operated in perfect harmony. Life across countless systems was preserved without humans claiming glory. Their philosophy was simple: protect, preserve, guide. Leah gazed at the stars. Humans do not rise to conquer. They rise to protect. They act for balance, not power. And when the galaxy finally sees it, they will understand why humans were never to be underestimated. The graduation photo of a young human class appeared on the council's holoscreen, a symbol of innocence and potential. Leah whispered, "They were taught to value life, and that lesson has echoed across millennia." Counselor Theric lowered his claws, his expression unreadable. Even he could not deny the evidence. Humans, cautious and patient, had outsmarted the galaxy without firing a shot. They had survived, protected, and now guided life itself. The energy flows from human systems pulsed softly, like a heartbeat across the stars. Humanity had returned, not with weapons, not with empires, but as stewards of life. The galaxy realized it had witnessed something extraordinary. Leah smiled, her voice barely audible. Humans are not afraid of war, they are afraid of losing life. And that fear, that wisdom, makes them stronger than anyone imagined. The council remained silent, the galaxy holding its breath. Humanity had revealed its truth. A species underestimated for centuries, now awakening as protectors, as guardians, and as the wisest force in existence. And the stars seemed to shimmer in response. Humanity had returned. Not to conquer. Not to dominate. But to protect. The galaxy finally understood. Humans were never weak. They had waited. They had learned. And now they had returned.